Very good. So a lot of material. I think the agenda, I got a draft of the minutes that Bob and Carol put together before sailing. And so do take a moment to look at those, particularly that that last half of those minutes that address the transition issues. So on the meeting today, we've got a couple of our new board members, a couple going off, and I appreciate everybody being on. Couple of housekeeping things for my own benefit and for, I guess, for my report. So the installation will take place at the membership meeting on the 28th. Jim Stewart, former president, will handle that installation, and it's pretty straightforward. No bloodletting or anything of that sort. We get your blood. We get your blood afterwards. So, but the other sort of opening comments I wanted to make were around, and do also let us know. I'm sorry, I should say, for that meeting on the 28th, we do try to do our general membership meetings at the library in person. And it seems each month we're getting more and more people comfortable doing that. I had not less a request than an idea from one of our older members. Some of you all know Mrs. Granderson. I think she is 94 or 95. A phenomenal member and hero in my book. Her health is good, and she's planning to travel to the meeting on that date. Still drives, which is kind of scary. I don't think her niece and nephew know that, but Lois keeps track of her. Her idea was, why don't we stop using Zoom and just have in-person general membership meetings? That way we, in her view, attract a larger population. I'm open to your views on it, but I believe we made a commitment, at least in this immediate post-COVID period, to continue doing these on Zoom. We know there are people who just aren't comfortable. And we also know there are people who, if their snowbirds haven't, or may not be planning to return. I'm thinking of the Hills. I don't think they're coming back this year. The Johnsons, Vivian and her husband. So I like just keep doing in-person and Zoom for the general membership meetings. Is there a strong sense that we should not do that? Any sense at all? I appreciate that it came from 94-year-old Ms. Granderson, but yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Just, I would love to just have meetings in person, but from a medical perspective, as long as variants continue to present themselves and the efficacy of vaccines seem to wane and need boosted, I think hybrid is safer.
Yeah, and it reminds me, it's really the commitment we've made to the national office and following these protocols that we actually helped draft. So, any other comments on that? Yes, Bo. Good morning.
Good morning. At my age and physical health, I watch the news all the time. Just I've seen indicate that the variances in the state of Florida, there's still a number of cases that are, and I don't see a downtrend. And so I would recommend that we continue. We get some better information that indicates that the problem has diminished.
Great. I sense a consensus. So let's keep with the in-person meetings and the Zoom, and I'll try to just create one Zoom meeting if I can. The second housekeeping item is really just to again thank those of you who are departing, who aren't going to be with us for the 23-24 term. I have been struggling to think of a appropriate, and we'll find a better way to recognize you. But just in this setting with your peers, I wanted to say to Marion, to Alan, to Jackie, to and Jean, and I know Lynetta is probably not joining us today. You all have been tremendously faithful and dedicated to our mission, and we appreciate every moment over the last couple of years. And I know some of you have spent more than a couple of years, because for some of you it's your third and fourth term. Looking at Jackie, and fourth for Jackie. She was again one of the founders almost. And Alan, you've had how many terms, Alan?
Not enough.
No, I knew it. Not enough. Al,
I've had two.
all right. Well, we appreciate. And Gene, he's no longer going to be co-chair. He's going to continue to be an active member of the education committee and ASALH, and has been a wonderful partner. Yes, sir.
David, I'm thinking about recognizing all the people like myself who are going off the board as our positions. And when I moved from Nebraska, I donated 15 to 20 plaques I received for doing the same thing in being on these voluntary boards. So I'm suggesting that if you were thinking about a plaque or something, I would recommend that the cost of the plaque be donated to somebody's charity in our name. And that would take care of recognizing us in a meaningful way. It would necessitate the non-use of the plaques, and everybody would be happier. I believe that's my recommendation, to honor the people leaving the board.
And just an observation, look at all the plaques hanging on Jackie's wall, because she probably has 2 million plaques that she's received.
Yeah. Agreed.
And when I donated my plaques, I donated them to my undergraduate theater department for them to use the way they see fit. When they have plays, they put plaques on the wall, and that way the plaques were being used, even though they're no longer hanging on my wall. So that's a suggestion.
And did they have to recruit another Gene Crump to attend the school to take?
They said it's too far away to see the name.
Other comments? I appreciate that. That's a good suggestion, Gene. Anybody else on this? All right, so that's what we'll likely do. And Marion, please.
I have a comment. I'm staying on. I'm not going to be on the board, but I'm staying on to handle all website initiatives. So anything that has to be put on the website, I'll still be here to coordinate that with Tina.
We appreciate that very much. We do. Thank you. All right. One other, and this is really a reference back to the transition discussion we had at the last board meeting, the notes for which, again, are really well captured in the minutes that Bob and Carol put together. We spent a lot of time talking about volunteers and the need for really recruiting more folks, not to be officers or run, but just to join us in some of the work we're doing. Had a brief conversation with Ray and Alan, and we were thinking about a finance committee. And I mentioned in that discussion that our new bylaws, or the recently amended bylaws, do call for establishment of a finance committee. So I'm going to continue to press this issue of recruiting more volunteers. Can't ask really any more from you all, because you've been again tremendously engaged and involved. But we all know 4 or 5 folks who are ASALH members who we could reach out to and not voluntold, as some people say, but encourage to join us. And so when I look, so we're definitely going to need a fundraising committee. And I was hoping Fred was going to join us today. He did tell me last week when we talked, he's going to get re-engaged. And so I'm going to increasingly press on him to to rebuild a
Mhm.
fundraising committee. And mentioned finance. We've talked about this
Thanks, and,
upcoming Jacksonville ASALA annual meeting and conference that will be September, October this year. We've got to have 4 or 5 folks who join with the other branches, the Florida branches, because we're really the host of this, and none of us would have time to engage. I mean, they have a weekly development committee call with the national office, regular updates on progress toward their fundraising goals. It's an intensive activity that 3 or 4 people from our branch could do. Again, none of us can do that, but I've committed to them. We're going to get a committee formed. They understand that we're going through this transition, but very shortly after installation, or even before, I'm going to start identifying some potential candidates. There was one of our members approached me at the breakfast and said she'd be interested in joining, and I just have to convince her to lead it as well as join. So the social media, I mean, Marion mentioned the website, but we've talked repeatedly about the opportunity to be on Facebook, Instagram. Most organizations our size do have a social media presence. That requires someone who can create a Zoom meeting that people can actually connect to. The problem is we got a bunch of old folks trying to do this stuff and forget. So my daughter, when she was here, showed me how to set up a social media account for us, and it was pretty straightforward. And I looked at her and I said, okay, now what? So we definitely need to be on social media. I think we could greatly enhance our reach. So that's, and then we've talked at that last meeting about recruiting young people to join our branch. In fact, maybe financing their, $50 or $75 membership. And so Gene's waving. I don't know if he's having a stroke or what.
I volunteer your daughter and I'll pay for her membership if she does the social media.
I'll pass that on, Gene. She'll appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So we've got some work to do here in the broader area of volunteer recruitment. And as all of you all know, many of you are engaged because, wrapped my arms around you and made all kinds of promises of fortune and fame, and you're here. We need to do that more for some of our other friends, because this work is too important to expect it to be done on the shoulders of you good folks. So let me just finish my comments by bringing you up to date on our conversations around what we've called the Manasota ASALA Freedom School. And there's been quite a bit of activity, discussion, study done. And I think we're approaching a place where if we're going to do this, we need a commitment, and that commitment's got to begin with the board. And then we would take it to the membership at the end of the month. But let me back up and remind, because some of you know more about this than others. Obviously, if you're on the education committee, you've sort of been up to it in your elbows. But you'll recall, probably 2 years ago, we got engaged around this issue of what Tallahassee and DeSantis was threatening to do around the teaching of history. I won't go into all of the history of that, but it obviously goes back to the 2021 era, the George Floyd protest, and the backlash to that attacked the 1619 critical race theory. So we started attending school board meetings, supporting the then school board, who was dealing not only with this critical race theory criticism, but also the masking and the various policies associated with the pandemic. And as he committed to do. He got HB7 passed, and that's created all kinds of conflict. At the same time, the other 4 or 5 branches in Florida, the Florida Coalition branches, were addressing the same issues in their ways, whether in Jacksonville, Tampa, St. Pete, Orlando, and we were in correspondence with the national office, and we were pushing the executive council to get engaged in what's happening in Florida, and never forget, probably a quarter of the ASALH membership would be covered by the Florida branches. I mean, so we are a significant voice, which is why they're always reaching out to us. So we were pushing back to them to say, we need some help here. So we got a conference together with Marvin Delaney, the current president. He might have been, not even president-elect at that time, and an ACLU lawyer from, I think, Tallahassee. They were at that time looking at litigation, anticipating, again, the passage of HB7. And as some of you who followed this know, 2 of those cases are making their way through the appellate court, because the trial judges in 2 instances have struck down portions of HB7 as violative of the Florida Constitution. So that's good news, but that work's still going. In the meantime, what's happened to our school board here. It's happening across the state. And you've seen the recent appointments DeSantis has made to New College. So this isn't going to change. He is on a tear through our concept of teaching, of education, particularly as it relates to what they would like to characterize as either woke or diversity, but we know at the heart of it, it is attack on the teaching of African-American history, the history of people of color, whether Black, brown, Native, and that's not going to stop. And so we committed more than a year ago to examine what we could do, recognizing that spending our energy at the school board, it's important to be there, it's important to be a voice, but that's the board for the next, whenever the 4-year term that they're there. And they're going to do all that they can, witness the removal of the superintendent. So we formed with the view that we can do something direct and outside of the public school setting, outside the reach of this legislation. Started exploring the idea of a freedom school, a Saturday school. This concept is familiar to folks who know Sarasota history. The students at Booker High went on strike once the desegregation plan, this is now 40, 50 years ago, was to shut down Booker and move, and this is a very poor, succinct history. Basically, the students walked out and they said, you're not going to take and they were mostly focused on the elementary school where most of the Black children attended. You're not going to ship our babies across town to these white schools. They went on strike, and the community created freedom schools to supplement that learning loss. That's a model that's operated throughout our history, through the civil rights era. And so we're thinking of, again, a Manasota ASALH freedom school on Saturdays. The library has reserved the Ed James, the large room, for us, February through April. And we're Linda, do you have something? Oh, okay. So we're looking at so we created a subcommittee of the Education Committee to look at possible curricula that we could use. And just to update you, there were 4 or 5 of the folks on this call had been involved in that. Some have studied the various options. As a reminder, Florida has a robust statute, Florida statute 1003.42, if I've got that cited correctly, on the teaching of African American history. Been in place for 20 years, and it does require the teaching of this history in a very comprehensive way across the K through 12 standards, and that's a very positive thing. HB 7 does not vitiate that obligation to teach this history, but we all know it was never being taught in a robust way before HB 7. Now those who want to teach it are afraid to do so. Most of the others who never desired to teach it are perfectly happy with that. So we're looking for alternatives to continue to provide this content, this important content for our children. So we've looked at several different curricular choices. We've sort of targeted this tool called Black History 365. There was a meeting this week of that subcommittee, and we had some really in-depth examination, debate, conversation with a representative from Black History 365. And I so appreciate Mike Weddle's really in-depth study of both that tool, its positives and negatives, as he tested it against the requirements of the Florida statutes and standards. And so Mike, kudos to you for doing that. Mike led that discussion with Henry Sandoval from HB 365. I'm sorry, Black History 365. They're going to be providing us with greater access to that, or I'm hoping to get, it's an ebook format as well as textbook with QR codes for kids who don't have devices. We're hoping to get a set of that material as quickly as we can. We need to make a decision. If we're going to do this, is this the tool we're going to use? The Education Committee as a whole met yesterday and had, again, a quick overview of where we have been, what we've been doing, what's being proposed. Another very good discussion with Jean and Linda and most of the committee. The biggest concern I heard out of that was we can't possibly do this as a committee. And I want to be very clear, and I'll make this as a final point. I'm not asking the committee, I'm not asking this board to do this work. We've got some ways in which we think we can deliver this content by real teachers, but we do need obviously support from the committee and from this board. So I think it was Alvin Stout was thinking, now you're asking me every Saturday to be at the library teaching, 4 or 5 classes. That's not what the request is at all. The other meeting that we had this week, which was very good, was with John Annis from the Barancik Foundation. Funding is an issue in everything. We don't have budget, as Alan would nod and say, we don't have budget to fund another program, certainly like this. We've done a request to the Masala Giving Circle. If we are successful, those monies wouldn't be available until the fall 2023. I mean, they make the award, I guess, the end of their session, but school would be out. We met with Barancik, and it was very encouraged. I don't know if any of you know John or even know the Barancik Foundation, but a very progressive organization funded by these very wealthy, progressive folks who recently passed away a couple of years ago in a tragic car accident, but their foundation and its spirit goes on. So John had a couple of really important things to say. First, absolutely endorse the idea of doing this. Second, said we might do this as a pilot, and he's got resources within his decision-making capacity up to $10,000. He said we might be able to get one of their other supporters to provide iPads. Now, we had never thought that our kids would be able to afford these devices, which again made the textbooks with the QR code an option for. So that was a mind-blowing idea that we could put actually ebooks in the hands of these young folks. But he also said, in addition to supporting education initiatives, their next largest focus is teachers and teacher support. So he said, if you attract teachers who would come on Saturday afternoons, we can pay them. So these were two ideas we had not really even thought of, but to assuage the concern of some of our volunteers who might not feel capable of teaching, that was a very positive response from them. So we're going to put together a proposal, again, subject to us moving forward with this, which we'll talk about as I put this to a vote among you all. We need to put together a proposal for a pilot funded by the Barancik Foundation for this first phase, and then a 2 to 3 year plan, longer term, funded by them. And the other bit of information we learned in the meeting yesterday, Edna Sherrill, who is our soon-to-be historian, a Sarasota high school teacher of many years, she's got 4 other teachers in addition to herself who would be willing to do the instruction on Saturdays. And so those are all very positive, because then what we'd be looking at is volunteers to come and help shepherd the kids, assist the teachers. We're going to provide lunch, and we may even provide some transportation. We've got one of our churches has a small bus that we could use. So Linda, please.
Did you say earlier you had submitted a grant proposal to Masala for part of
Yes.
this too? Okay.
I did.
I couldn't remember whether or not that had actually been submitted. So
Yep.
pending the outcome of that, there could be some more funding.
Yeah, and I got confirmation that it had been received, and we would hear back from Masala when they make their decision. Debbie Trice also mentioned, a member of our education committee. She has a fund like some of us do here at the Community Foundation, and so she recommended that we also approach the Community Foundation to see if the Trice Fund could provide some support. So financing is key, but I think that's a hurdle we can address. The last thing I will say, and then I want to open this up because I know some of you may have questions, and Mike may have a comment since he was so integrally involved in this. Like everything that we do, it is volunteer dependent, and I say it over and over again. We've got to get more volunteers. I think we can do that not just from our ASALH membership. I plan to, subject to the decision we make here today, I plan to bring this up with our Boulé group tomorrow, because it was raised at our meeting. Tom Cunningham, who's been to a couple of the school board meetings and really has a passion around finding alternatives, raised this at our meeting last month. I didn't comment at that point because we simply didn't have enough information, and I certainly had no authorization from the board. But if we go forward, we would be looking to partner with organizations like the Boulé, the Links, and others who feel, as I believe we feel, the teaching of art history is vital and must be done. So this is volunteer dependent. If we get 4 or 5 great teachers, but no other volunteers to come and help them, we're just not going to do this. Likewise, if we don't get funding either from any of these sources, we're not going to be able to do this. So what I'm putting to you this morning is a conditional proposal, conditioned on funding, conditioned on volunteer recruitment and acceptance. But let me stop rambling, open it up for some discussion. Gene.
David, did I read in the newspaper in the last day or 2 or 3 about the Brule being involved in the school system, and there were scholarships they were doing and so on and so forth? Can you elucidate that?
Yeah, so the Boulé has a Journey to Success program that's quite comprehensive, and I'll invite my other Boulé brothers on here to join in the comment. But one of the aspects of that is we go into the schools. I'm blanking on the specific sub name for the program, but we go into Booker High and Southeast High, and we do presentations. At the end of the month, I'll do a presentation on law and lawyers. And
It's called the Speakers Program.
thank you. Yeah, where's Bo? There he is. Bo leads this program for us. So our speaker series, and we've done that. We restarted it obviously after COVID, but it had been in place for a number of years before COVID. Southeast High School in Bradenton and Booker High in Sarasota. We probably have 12 speakers a series. Bo, I don't know for sure, but again, we've got a list of folks who volunteered to do this, and we spend the day. We've got a couple of our members who run this program for us and do a great job. And the schools have, again, we're not teaching anything controversial. We're talking about these various careers that young people could have as they seek out success in their lives.
So David, are you going to teach how to become a civil rights lawyer?
Yes, I am.
David, anything being taught is controversial, whatever. Anything being taught or teach.
Yeah, but and most of the teachers all the teachers we're dealing with are warriors, and so they're unafraid. Again, they're not violating any edicts from their principal or the superintendent. This program's been approved for many years. The Booker principal and the new Southeast principals are heroes in our community, and so they understand the importance. But this is the same population we would be reaching out to have their children join us on Saturday afternoons at the library. Again, it's completely separate from the public school. Mike, go ahead. You're muted. There you go.
Yeah, no, I'm since Paul, hi Paul, is on this call, and I want his interior decorator to come and work on this office, by the way. That's a beautiful.
We all do.
There was in one of these meetings, Erin Clay was there from the library, and she mentioned that you and the Black Arts Collaborative also may be using the library in the lead up to this Newtown art exhibition. And there was a discussion, just so that you know, about having a conversation about including art into this Freedom School activity. I mean, art is how history is communicated. So that's something that we have talked about.
Good point. Good point.
I was just going to add,
Please,
anyway, David, that art is, receiving the fallout from your direct effort around education and history, but a lot of the art world is being looked at suspiciously and being denied access to the school system as well, if it involves, for instance, Black art. They're very, very leery of that sneaking into the back door, so to speak.
So, and Mickey Redwine, for all of you, I think leads on Paul and Mike are engaged with the Suncoast Black Arts Collaborative. We've been talking for months about how, and her plans to go into the high schools and to teach Black art, to encourage students to get engaged in understanding and participating. And I just recently learned, as we did at this meeting yesterday, that she's now getting pushback. It is glaringly clear to all of us, and we've known it for always, but it should be very glaringly clear to the community that anything that touches Black folk, Black art, Black life is now being subsumed in this bubble created by DeSantis. And that's unacceptable to me. That's my view. And so that's why I've been pressing this, but I'm more interested in your questions, your concerns before we go off this ledge here. I'm already off the ledge. I'm just looking for folks to join me. Mike, any other comments on you've been really engaged in this, and again, as I said, I appreciate it.
I have one comment, and I promise not to get too far afield here, but some of you may know Rigoberta Menchú in Guatemala. And she wanted to build a Mayan school. at a time when there was a genocide going on against the Mayan people. So she wasn't having a lot of support from the institutions and the government. And she was having a lot of trouble fundraising. She actually, I went in and met with her foundation board to talk about fundraising in the United States. And their idea was that they needed books, they needed buildings, they needed a campus, they needed all this stuff before they could start. And what I advised her, and what it's not just me, I think a lot of people were advising her, that you don't have a school until you have students in chairs. You have 5 students in chairs and a teacher, you have a school, and that's what you use to fundraise. So it's sort of a chicken and egg thing, but she started a storefront school in a shopping center. And they put 10 students in chairs. And now there's Cachiquel University. So, you know, there is an argument that you start with the students and you build from there. It's not that you start with a big grant and then find students. It's an argument. Even her Nobel Peace Prize didn't you know, open up the coffers. They needed students to do that.
Yeah. Good point. Very good point. Anything else on this? I want to get to the rest of our agenda, but I did want to take some time and make sure that you all were updated on our plans and our thinking.
David,
Question.
is
Yes.
there a way to get access to the curriculum?
Yes. In fact, I got access for Kelvin Lumpkin yesterday. He's at the Light of the World Church, and we certainly would be expecting some of his kids to attend. So if you're interested, Harriet, I just need to send your email to Jocelyn Legg at Black History 365, and she'll send you the access info.
Yeah, I'd
All right.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else wants to take a look at that, let me know. They know we're you know, very serious about this, and we're moving toward, you know, some sort of commitment from them, with them, I should say. Anything else?
David, yeah, I just wanted to say
Please, Harold.
that I checked in with my daughter who has twins at 13, and they live in Washington, D.C., attending Washington Latin schools, where they're like 46% are Black, 34% white, and the rest other. They had a reading list and about 60 books, but the nonfiction ones, African icons, 10 people who shaped history. But this promise of change. One girl's story in the fight for school equality. The other one, Stamped, Racism, Anti-Racism, and You. And I said, man, you guys are right on top of this stuff. And it's so uneventful. My grandson is really interested in history. So he reads these books and is so excited about them. And then you come down to where we are now. So what in the heck are we fussing about? Are you kidding me? Kids are enjoying this stuff.
Yep.
And anyway, I just thought it was so refreshing to see that, you know, we have a ways to go, but, you know, places like that can be helpful just to know that they exist.
Thanks, Harold. No, that's the world, the free state of Florida,
Yeah.
as you would call it. We're leading, unfortunately, the edge in this bad way. So
Yeah.
if there is no other questions or comments, I do want to move on. But before I do, I'm going to ask for again, if the board would support this, we need to express it. And I want people to be comfortable as we move forward. So I'd invite a motion to proceed on the
moved.
conditions. Moved. A second, Ms. Jackie. It's been moved and seconded that we proceed with this Manasota Sala Freedom School concept, subject to support, volunteers, and subject to funding. And we will keep you certainly posted on that. So moved and seconded, all in favor. Let me see an indication with a hand raise.
So no room for comments.
Did I miss something here, Jean?
No,
Lynn?
I just said, because you use the word concept, I vote in favor because we don't really know what it'll look like. It may not, quote, be a school.
As pointed out.
5 students and a teacher and a seat. You got a school.
There you go. Thank you. All right. All opposed? Any opposed?
Just
Yes, right.
I shouldn't participate in voting, right? I'm still an observer at the moment. right?
Exactly.
Yeah, just wanted to be
Exactly. Well,
clear.
duly noted, duly noted. But I appreciate you guys joining and hearing the conversation. All right, we'll proceed and keep you posted. So again, thank you. And taken much too much time. Let's move to our treasurer's report. Alan, I pulled it up so I can, let me just share my screen. Hopefully it's ready. If you're ready.
I'm ready.
I thought I pulled it up. All right, hang on. Where are the teenagers when you need them?
Reading books.
Yeah. Bless their hearts. All right, let me share the screen. I can see it now. There we go. Can you all see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we can
All right.
see it now.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the profit and loss statement and have a few comments on the balance sheet. You can see by looking at the bottom line for the month of December, we had a very, very good month for the month of December. Our total positive cash flow was $17,359. The good news is that we had $10,000 in contributions from KBR, $4,400 from the GISCM fund. I want to point out the GISCM fund back a month ago was only $425. So we increased that fund by a large percentage point between November and December. The Phyllis White Fund continues to accrue money, and you can see on an annualized basis for the whole year, that amount is $20,019. So a pretty good month in terms of contributions. Our expenses are reasonable given what we're trying to do. The holiday breakfast expenses were $1,184. We also paid $3,500 for tuition. At this point, we have 7 students that we still have to pay the tuition for in the next week or two. So I just want to point that out. Our general expenses really consisted of the fee for attending the national conference. And again, our bottom line for the month of December was $17,359. Year-to-year basis, we're up 86.59. So again, a pretty good year. And so we've done fairly well. One point I want to mention at this point is that we're trying to wind everything down in the next couple of weeks. So I'm requesting that we have all requests for all checks, no matter what the purpose, to us, and that means me and Jackie by the 18th of January, so you have time to finish those checks before the end of the year. So those are my basic comments, and the rest of the reports basically follow that. But again, we had a pretty good month. The year is ending on a positive note, and we want to have all the checks that are still outstanding to us by the 18th of January. And that's
Hey,
my
Alan, quick question. This is still before the film project fee is paid to us, right?
Let me talk about the film project. There's a couple of things going on with the film project. Right now, the film project balance is $23,499. We just paid 5 of that to the producer, and he will get that. That will show up in January. $13,000 has come to us in the month of January. That will leave 5. So by this time next month, the film project budget will be down to a balance of 0. So the money is there, but we still have to do a couple of things to get at all the money. Again, $5,000 for the producer, $13,000 for us. We have to write an invoice to do that. And when all is said and done, the fund will be 0 by this time next month.
And we're 13,000 to the good.
We're 13,000 to the good. That's exactly right. That's our fee for managing this project for the past 2 years.
Anybody got any other films we might manage for you?
Alan,
Yes, sir.
what is the status of the holiday breakfast? I don't see any income from it, but I see expenses. What did we break even? Did we make any money we're not supposed to, or did we lose any money?
We made a little bit of money. We also received a refund check from the people who run the hotel, not the hotel, the banquet hall, $614 yesterday. So we're a little bit positive, but I guess I still have to collect all the money, but we're going to do fairly break even on this particular venture.
Well, that was the goal, to not cost any money to Asala, but again, I don't see any receipts in your listing of things, and I see expenses.
Again, part of it was processed in December, part of it was processed in November. So I have to look at the entire profit and loss statement. I don't have that, but I can get that to you.
I just want to know reporting on, that's all.
Okay, it's going to be positive. I don't know the exact amount, but I can get that number for you. I don't have both months in front of me.
All right. Well, these funds are doing really well. The White Fund, the Giscombe Fund, that's wonderful. In the endowment statement, I think we get that quarterly from the Community Foundation.
We get
Alan?
it typically quarterly. I haven't seen one recently.
Okay, but I
Which
know
will be probably sometime in the next couple of months. I haven't seen one recently, though.
yeah, but I think the market has eaten away a little bit of our. But that again, those are long-term investments, so not worry about that. Anything on the balance sheet, Alan? You want to point out?
Now, the balance sheet is again pretty stable. The main action there occurs in the fund for Giscombe and the funds for the White Fund. It goes up a little bit each month, but it's fairly constant between like 150 and 160. And it varies based on how much we pay off for tuition and things like that.
Excellent. All right. For the, I mean, I know our new board will be installed at the meeting at the end of the month. So Ray would be presenting this.
Ray and I will talk about that.
Oh, good. All right. Do you want to say anything about the banking situation, or you still in process?
Well, how much do you want? All right, I'll mention what happened. The bank gave me a surprise on the 27th of December.
This is Truist.
Truist Bank. I was in the process of trying to deposit some monies from PayPal into the bank. And we have what's called a two-factor authentication. So I have to type in my email, they send me a code, and I get a response approving the code. There's also a possibility two-factor authentication can be hacked. Okay. And there was a potential attempted hack on our account on the 27th of December. Specifically, somebody told me that I signed in with a new account using a Linux system. I do not know how to use Linux, and I don't have a Linux system. So somebody was trying to get at our money and trying to get into our account. I immediately called the bank and I took our accounts offline. So our bank account now is totally offline. I made a series of phone calls to the bank to inquire about the safety of the account, and I was not satisfied with what they told me. And I went to the fraud department, I talked to them extensively. They referred me to what's called the digital department. I don't know what digital is, but it's not fraud. And so based on that decision, Gary and David and I had talked, and we decided that we're going to pull the plug on Truist Bank. And we're going to do that as soon as we get the new officers installed in about 2 weeks. I'm not satisfied. I think they could do better. They purport to be a money center bank. They do not act like a money center bank. So they have a lot of problems they have to work through. Our money's safe because we took everything offline. And I think that's the right decision in this case.
Any questions or comments for Alan? We appreciate his attention to detail and to our dollars.
So what are we disputing with Truist Bank? Are their numbers different from
No,
Alan's
okay,
numbers?
here's what happens. When you send money electronically, you have to get in and verify who you are. Okay, so they send you a code. The code may be ABCDE, whatever the code is, okay? They send a code to your cell phone, and it's supposed to be unique to you and no one else in the world. But there are ways of hacking two-factor authentication. So in the process of authenticating our account, I received a message that I logged in under a new device on a Linux account. I do not have a Linux computer. I don't know where that came from. Somebody was attempting to breach our account at that point. I immediately went to the bank in person and took everything we do offline. So we're no longer online. Nobody has access to our information except for me, and that's it. So nobody else can get to our account. That account is offline. I talked to David, I talked to Ray about that. We're going to have a new bank within about the next 2 weeks. And the new bank will be Bank of America.
Again, I appreciate that, but my bottom line is, are their figures and our figures different? Or we
No,
just
the numbers are
talking about
exactly the
process?
same.
We're just talking about process.
All we're talking about is the process and
Thank
the
you.
potential for a breach. The numbers are perfect. But what you worry about is the fact somebody might breach your account. And that's the thing you don't need to happen. And we stop that right in its tracks.
Thanks, Ellen.
Thanks, Alan. Anything else for Alan?
Alan, just to clarify again, the Phyllis White Fund, formerly known as 360, and Gary Giscombe Fund, that's all under the scholarship program monies.
I haven't made that determination right now. I'm just keeping them as separate accounts. I think the board has decided where to put those monies. Okay, I'm just keeping them separate from my point of view. Will they be used for scholarships? The answer is exactly yes. But I'm keeping them separate right now until the board decides what they want to do with those. But I'm assuming, and everything I've been told, that they will go to scholarships.
Harriet's just putting her
Okay.
stake in the ground. You all.
I realize that.
I'm
Okay.
counting on it.
Well, forget, I'm a short timer. I don't want to make any claims. Okay, I'm married to a lawyer. And I know not to make any claims. I don't want to have
Okay,
to.
I'm just saying.
Good question, Harriet.
No, no
We'll-
seriousness. They were intended for that purpose. They will be used for that purpose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bernice will clarify.
Now,
Yeah, Bernice
But
will clarify that for us.
The
Yeah.
only thing I don't know is when the committee, when the seller wants to have access to the funds. But nobody else will have access to those funds besides you and your committee, if that answers your question.
Thank you.
Okay.
And
Just
and
clarify.
and her children. All
I
right,
hope not, but that's what I'm saying.
all right. Thanks, Harriet. Thanks, Alan. Anything else? Let's move then to Harold, our acting first VP. I know we've got some plans for our moment in history, huh?
Yes, we do. Mr. My goodness, I just drew a blank. Little John.
Little John. Mhm.
Yeah, Mr. Little John is going to be Beyond Black History Month presenter in February, and he's very anxious about doing this primarily because he wants some book sales. So I've made some arrangements to have some books available at the meeting. And so after his presentation, then we'll set up a book signing, and he'll be thrilled. You know, in addition to that, his book is called No Equal Justice. Focused on a civil rights attorney, Crockett, back in the day. Is an interesting tell. So we are looking forward to, you know, having him there, and maybe even taking it to another level later, or maybe I said Beyond Black History Month. I didn't mean that. I actually meant a moment in history at our February meeting. Okay.
Good. And we originally wanted him for January, but Benny and Joyce White are his sponsors, if you will, and they're that crew, so they wanted to be here. We'll do it in February, and I'll do a quick moment in history for our membership, explaining the Florida statute on the teaching of African and African American history, somewhat as an intro to this larger discussion of our school. There's some good information on their website, which I'll share. People need to know about that, because that's a jewel that we need to protect, and have lawyers watching. Wouldn't be surprised if the next step is DeSantis will modify that statute, and it will be interesting if he does, because there is a corollary statute or a section on the teaching of Holocaust, which was recently enhanced. And enhanced to the extent that the Holocaust, now the teaching of the Holocaust must be certified by the superintendent in every county. So it's a developing picture. Thanks, Harold. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Excellent. I don't see Rita on today. I'm sure Rita's a working lady, so she may be out on a closing or a transaction today. Corresponding secretary, Marion. I don't see Dave here, so I don't know if
Okay. I know that Dave has the newsletter ready to go.
Okay.
I saw it in the Constant Contact. I'm still training Dave. I have to teach him how to upload our members. So in the meantime, I'm loading them. So my plan is to show Dave how to transfer those members, the new members, and send them a welcome email. Previously, I was doing it as they came in by the month, but we did not do them for November, December. So we'll do it in January.
Thanks, Marion.
And then Felicia has the rest of the corresponding secretary report for the mail.
Yeah, so
Marion?
you may not know that we did ask in this transfer for Felicia to pick up the mail pickup part of the corresponding secretary's job, and we very much appreciate that. Felicia, I don't know if you want anything to add. You're certainly welcome to, but she's done that and copied it to all the appropriate folks. And
Before we move away from Marion,
Mhm.
David, now if we have anything that needs to go in the newsletter, we should be contacting both you and Dave Hurlitz, whatever his last name is, or
Once the installation takes place, you can just copy Dave, but in the meantime, copy us both.
so you, Marion, and Dave. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
It came up at our committee meeting yesterday. That's why I wanted to know.
Okay.
all right, Felicia, anything to add? We appreciate.
No, I
your-
just want to make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I know I sent everything electronically, but I am mailing the checks directly to the treasurer. The other thing for other items, I mean, do you need them physically, or how is that normally handled?
Jackie, would you typically have kept the hard copies, other than the checks, of course?
I keep all notices of money that has been spent. And I keep hard copies of all checks that I receive. Now, I've had people, for instance, Lynetta sent me a card, several months ago, that she had received a check from someone, and she had also sent money herself from her. I went through all of this stuff yesterday, and I've never seen any copy of a check from Lynetta for the amount that she indicated, because sometimes I have not received them. So what I have received, I have saved. What I have not received, I have ignored.
All right.
And to that point, though, I think I'm picking up more things than Mary did, just because I went to the PO box. So like, cards and letters and things of that nature. That's the question as far as hard copies. Do
Did
you
they
need
go to
those?
the historian?
I can tell you that what I did, Felicia, is all checks I sent on to Alan. Other information, I felt that everybody had a copy of it and I didn't need to put it in the mail. That's what I did.
Okay, that's easy.
Yeah, and Linda, I don't think we would send a historian. So we get greeting cards, we get flyers with announcements and this sort of stuff. So they go to who they need to go to, but the historian is really maintaining our kind of official records and documents and archives.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thanks, Felicia. Thanks, Marion. Then very quickly, Jackie, anything else?
No, that's all.
All right, then let's do our committee reports, beginning with education.
Well, we did have a meeting yesterday and we went over the upcoming events that are going to take place on January 19th. We're going to have a combined with the Flying West from West Coast Black Theater and Nicodemus, the Black Utopia Town. And so that should be interesting on the 19th. February is AP Thoreau and His Life and Times. Harold, I want you to know unanimously, the committee thinks your suggestion for May would be a great one. And so if we need to touch base and do that, we'll do it. March, David has said that Bill Woodson is willing to go ahead and move forward on the policing that was part of his dissertation and do a presentation on that. When I mentioned that the newsletter might be important in April, I think Debbie Trice, who's going to do something on the role of Black GIs in World War II, wants to do a survey of our membership with a monkey survey. And so she was thinking if she could get it in the February newsletter, then she might be able to collect enough data that's going to enable her to kind of gear her presentation to hey, membership, you might not have known this, your ancestors did these things during World War II, to put a very positive spin. We had a lengthy discussion on the Freedom School EJA contest. I don't know how many of you have heard. We had 14 students submit essays at the 11th hour, which is fantastic. And we're going, the EJI actually goes ahead and they do the judging of those essay contests, and they will tell us who the finalists are. And we're planning a celebration on March 30th at the New College at 6 p.m. And New College has assured us that they have the kind of funding that would enable them to do something like this. So we're looking forward to that celebration. Still searching for a co-chair. When Gene decides he's going to step down, he may have to stay a little longer if I don't get that co-chair. I think that's probably it for a summary as quick as I can of what the Education Committee did. And if anybody has questions, we'll answer them.
Thanks, Linda. And I know our first invitations to the EJI lynching memorial essay contest celebration will be to those 6 new members of the New College Board of Directors.
Definitely.
Wouldn't want to leave them out. Morning, Dave Harrelson. Dave's joining us.
I
All right,
have a comment.
Yes, please.
I was thinking about when, I wanted to mention it when you were talking about the new school on Saturdays. Whenever
yes.
we do it, we should do a series of press releases so that it's known that we're doing it, if we want it to be known. And I think we should probably do it on a national level. I think we do a lot of things locally just because we want to attract local people, but this is more, I think, a national news kind of article that it's kind of saying we're fighting back, but without saying that we're fighting back against the governors.
A communication plan was definitely on our list, Marion, and
Okay.
appreciate that. So it's a must to attract the students and students and their parents. So we've got to do some on the ground communications with some of the churches that we know want to be involved through the teacher network that Edna will help us with. And interview with Renee Gilmore was certainly on our list. And
National Education Association, we should get it to them.
Okay.
And I was thinking also about our Beyond Black History. Perhaps we should do more to get that known, because I told some friends about it. They attended the quilting one and they're still very actively following the quilt because of our Beyond Black History Month. So I thought maybe we in a newsletter encourage our members to let their friends know. I know we do that at the beginning, but I'm thinking that we need to do more, because we should have maybe 100 people attending those and we don't. So it's just probably because they don't know about it or because they've been inundated with lots and lots of communication. So
yeah.
Marion, I do have a question. I know that some people have said that they view it afterwards. Is there any way we know how many people look at any of those links?
I can ask Tina, but if we don't have a counter on it, there isn't a way to know.
Okay.
I can ask her if we can put a counter on them to see how many views we get. We get a count for the number of people who come to the website.
Okay.
Which she told me is pretty active, mostly for our resources, which is something I'm going to plan on this year, updating our resource page so that it's linkable. Right now it's not. And she can tell us our traffic, overall traffic, but traffic to a video, I don't know that. I'll ask her.
Thank you.
In regards to what Marion was talking about, we have to realize that the essay contest is a joint project with the Boxer Diversity Initiative, VASALA, and embracing our differences, and that's another story. But we're talking about a publicity campaign, as David was talking about. So we'll put those factors into our discussions and come up with a coordinated publicity plan and so on and so forth. And a second thing, we had on our agenda the programs for September, October, November of next year, because it takes time to work on the plan. So we were looking for members through the newsletter, and B, subjects or topics or interesting things the public would like us to consider as programs. So we want to highlight that, because we stopped the programs for the summer, but September comes a lot sooner, and there is planning and stuff. So we plan the September ones in August and so on and so forth. So we have to do that.
So what I'm planning on doing, the reason I brought it up, is I'm going to go through the different television stations and find out the name and addresses of the Renee Gilmores in the 10 largest cities, so that we can be a part of the discussion. Because I think if we can just do 5 of those, we get 10% of what we reach out with picked up. We'll get more people involved and more people viewing us. So that's something I'm putting on my list of things to do.
Good ideas. Good ideas. Thanks, Marion. Jean, Linda, thank you. Anything else? And let's move to our scholarship committee. Harriet, good morning.
Good morning.
Any updates?
Okay, we had our meeting yesterday, and it was a really lively meeting, discussing how we've been reaching out to the different schools, high schools, one-on-one. I was able to go to Booker and had a wonderful presentation at their lunch hour workshop time. So promoting the scholarship program, as well as some of the committee members going to some of the community organizations, such as Big Brothers and Big Sisters, doing the same presentation to promote our program. So we are at the process now of receiving the applications, which are going to be due February 15th. And so far it's trickling in, and that always happens. They always kind of wait till the 11th hour to come in. But it's we're not worried. If we have to extend the deadline, we will for a week, as we did last year. But we're going to try to keep the number of scholarship applicants and recipients kind of limited again. Let's see. The next thing I wanted to talk about was, okay, well, I'm working on the vouchers. There's 4 or 5 still students out who have not confirmed their class schedule, so that I can process the vouchers. But that's okay. I'm keeping on them. And I do want to apologize to Felicia and Ray for sending correspondence, because I know it was a lot of confusion. You didn't know what that was all about. And I didn't realize that I was supposed to really just direct it strictly to Alan and Mary and Jackie for right now. So stay tuned. We're going to go over what the process is, so that you will be expecting, the order of how that's going to go with the vouchers and processing the checks for the remaining students. And the other thing is that next week, I'm going to be meeting with Ron Mason, one of the committee members, with Thomas Williams, who is part of the Education Foundation. He has some great ideas for us. He's on this persistence committee, part of the Education Foundation, and there's money out there. So we're going to be talking about a possible grant money that we can use for just ramping up our mentoring process that we want to really pursue this coming year. We've just done a little tiny bit of it this year, which was fine. But for the future, the mentoring program is so successful. And we want to keep, the whole idea is to keep kids in school and to reach back to those who have dropped out. So we're going to be, it should be a really, really good discussion with him, and he's willing to help us and collaborate with us with some other of the nonprofit scholarship programs out there. So that's my report.
Harriet,
Yes, sir.
there are 2 bags at the AACRC that were for the recipients. And so I don't know if you know they're still there, but there are 2 bags for those recipients of the scholarships.
Yeah, they never were able to get back to the library to pick them up, so we'll just use them and hold on to them for this new cycle of students, that's all. I mean, you know, I can't try to reach out to them and say, hey, you forgot your bag. Too late now, sorry. But I'm sure, you know, they're not gonna go to waste, so they were just some really nice goodies for the students going on with your t-shirts too. But thanks
All
for
right.
telling me that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I ate the candy, so you can't give the candy away. I ate the candy, but the bags are still there. You have to do something with the bags.
Okay, I'll remember to replace that.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank
thanks,
you.
Harriet. Hey, if nothing else for Harriet, let's go to Paul and arts and culture.
Thank you. First, talking about committees, I'll be this month. I think I get re-sworn in as the chair of this committee.
Yes, yes,
I'll
you
be
do.
vigorous. I didn't get out of that, huh? The vigorously recruiting for our committee members, like the rest of you, and any advice or help. I let the ball drop a little bit. I know there were some names that came up. People said they were interested. I really would like to get those names again. So help me if you can, if you remember. If not, I'll put out a general call, I hope, for at the next meeting. And this time kind of reconstituting the committee from the previous one. The major task this year.
Denise and Michael Washington.
I got them, definitely.
All right.
I'm definitely going to go deliberately hard after a young man named Gene Crump, since he is kind of giving up education. I would love to put him on this committee. And I think
Time out. He is not leaving the education committee.
Oh, he's not.
All right, all right, all right.
All right. And then I think we had a couple world-class musicians who are now solemn members here. And I know one or both of them said they would be interested. Maybe it was that a young lady who you know, David, quite well. But I think your wife I'm talking about.
I understand.
There's
Well, he's just cherry picking the education committee. Time out here.
But yeah, so that's the task this year. We have a lot of people, organizations who want to partner with us, cultural groups on their events, and that will be our primary task, making sure we partner with those who help advance our mission, as well as we seeking out cultural groups who can help us advance our mission. We are not necessarily, again, a group that puts on events, but we do partner with those who help our cause and help advance us in our agenda. The other issues are just some information that I want to share. Maybe David, I don't know if you picked up what I sent you, but we got a number of events that we're not a part of, or not sponsors of, or partners, but events in the month of February, a number of art exhibitions that include a special event put on at the Ringling by the African American Cultural Coalition. It's an event at the Ringling on the 9th of February. I can share those, David, if you don't have them, if you give me that ability.
Yes. Yeah, and should they go, I saw your email, so I know there are a couple of new items, but let's definitely get them in the newsletter, the next newsletter.
Oh, you want to put them in the newsletter? Okay. I don't know, is there a way to bring them up now? If not, I'll just mention them. We'll get them in the newsletter, but one at the Ringling on the 9th of February. Mickey's group, which I'm kind of helping her with. Visions in Black Initiative this year, she's doing an exhibition in 3 different venues. That kicks off the 2nd of February, Black History Month. And
that's Suncoast Black Arts Collaborative?
That's correct. Suncoast Black Arts Collaborative doing one at in Bradenton at the Manatee Performing Arts Center, one at the downtown Sarasota Arts and Cultural Alliance building, And then down at Art Advocates down on South Tamiami. That's February, in the first week in February, 3 different openings for that. And that'll be, I guess, we'll get information out about that. And then thirdly, there's the Art Center of Sarasota where the Black Muse was held. There will be an exhibition in February as well. It's not connected with Asala or Suncoast Black Arts Parade. It's their own event, but they're featuring 2 young African-American artists, Eugene Ofori, a young gentleman from Ghana, and then a local artist named Marlon Tobias. Marlon's Jamaican, but he's at school here, but he'll be featured as well at the Art Alliance of Art Center of Sarasota. So a lot of different art shows going on in February. And also Jean mentioned the Embracing Our Differences. They open up on the 18th of January, their first, they have their opening performance starting next week downtown at the park downtown. I think some of you may have seen that. So Art, what is that again? Embracing Our Differences. And then we, Asala, are going to partner with the Hermitage in February, 23rd of February, on an event at the, help me there, David, what is it, the radio station?
WSLR.
WSLR, right, the 23rd, a musical event. We'll get more information about that. So a lot of events that we are watching, partnering with as well. And that's it as of right now, David. So you did remind me earlier when you were going through your report that reminded me that we've been here before. I remember the 60s and the 70s. Unfortunately, we tend to forget, where we had to come together and figure out how we had to deal with 2 other governors, not Texas and Florida, but Alabama and Georgia, and their direct assault on our existence. So I appreciate you kind of waking us back again. I know the word woke is illegal in Florida.
Stay woke. Stay woke.
Thank you. I love it. So thank you very much. That's my report.
Paul, thank you. And I did get your email with that list. I'll share it with the with the members. I think when we think about arts and culture, you're right. We have half of our institutional members are arts related. My suggestion is, Paul, as you're reaching out for members to join your committee, each of those art organizations that want to partner with us should designate one of their folks to join your committee. That's the best way. That's the best way for us to stay close. And it'd be very easy with the Hermitage, because that group is always on the phone with you, I know. But make them a formal part of your committee, and get them involved in doing their own publications through our vehicle. So that's just one idea. I think we can.
Excuse me, Dave.
Yeah. Hey, David, go ahead.
I missed the corresponding secretary report because I was busy trying to get into the Asala meeting and couldn't get in, and I apologize.
Not your fault.
Marion probably said this, but let me just mention, the next newsletter is virtually ready to go, but I was hung up on 1 or 2 technical details. But my young nephew from New York arrived, and all of a sudden my problems are, at least for now, are solved. So I'll be submitting, I'll have it checked over in the next day or 2, and then it'll be out. Just so the board knows, it's approximately a week late getting out now. So
thank you, Dave.
I apologize for my on-the-job learning. Marion has been great. I've not been the best pupil, but we're moving ahead.
Lock that nephew in the basement. Keep him. We need him.
We're trying to get him to move down here, but he just,
all right.
New Yorkers don't want to give it up.
All right.
David, I'll pay for his nephew also. It's your daughter, his nephew. I can't do too much, but I can pay for things.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Gene. All right, let's head toward the end of our meeting. If nothing else on for our committees, but I do want to emphasize again that is a tactic we can use to build committees. We have lots of folks who want to reach out to us. Most recently, we had some engagement with the there's a project at the Sarasota Opera, and you know we just didn't connect. There was a meeting and it was to include folks from SAC and another organization, but they're reaching to us because they want access to our audience. Our response to that outreach should be join us. Get involved in the work. Don't just look to us to post your flyers and your, you know, if you're gonna be a member of ASALH, and their institutions are members, they're entitled to 2 representatives to attend and to participate. Join our committees and get busy. Don't just send us a flyer to publish what you want to do if you want to be a part of the community. So thanks again. Good and welfare, Bo. Thank you for hanging with us.
Happy New Year to
Happy
everybody.
New Year. Happy New Year.
First of all, I would like to make you aware of several members that are having some health challenges and ask you to continue to keep them in your prayers if you're a praying person. That is Garvey Clark, Don Frazier, Geraldine Gibbs, Fred White, and Marion Ruffin. I am so delighted to see Marion. Marion, welcome. You have been in my prayers every day. So you're looking well, and I hope everything is going well with you.
Thank you. I want to tell everyone I appreciate your prayers and well wishes for me. They worked. I'm back and I'm feeling much better. Thanks.
Okay, on another note, that was an observation made. Somebody just rang my doorbell. There was an observation made of a number of our members were seen at a gala on the 18th of December, including Roberta Morton, Lois Wilkins, Mary Davis, and Connie Anderson, along with 12 other young ladies. And I'd just like to congratulate them for such a wonderful outing, and I hope they enjoyed themselves. That's the end of my report.
Thanks, Bo. Thank you. Any questions or comments for Bo's report? So Lynetta sends her regards. Edna will pick up the role as historian after next general membership meeting. Members at large, Fred's not with us. I'll touch bases with Fred, see how he's doing. Mike, anything? Again, we've heard from you already, but Mike's been busy.
Oh, just to say that I'm going to be at some point taking over updating the calendar on the website. We thought it was going to be easy. Nothing's easy. Marion is really helping with this. We need to basically delete the calendar we have and recreate it. So be patient with me, and any updates on dates and things, send them my way.
Great.
Is that
Thanks, Mike.
that's events, Mike? And
Yes, mainly meetings and events. Yeah.
okay, thanks.
Excellent. Excellent.
And I can help you repopulate the dates that are on there for meetings because I have a spreadsheet with those on it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Excellent. Anything else? Concludes our reports. I think we've gotten through our agenda. Thank you all. We've run way over time. If there is nothing else, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in unison.
So moved.
All right, everybody have a good rest of your day. Thank you very much. Do take a look at those transition issues in the minutes, and be thinking about who you might tap to join your committee or just to get involved with some of this work we're going to do. We'll keep in touch with you, and thank you all again for a good meeting.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.